my lecture here, I want to show you a video. I expect you all to be like this. Okay? We're going to board vessels like this. You say, stop the vessel, stop the vessel. The submarine. Okay? We're on the vessel. Okay, now we're going to board the submarine. I expect all of you to be like that. Okay? Okay, that's good. That was a few weeks ago by the Coast Guard, and they did a huge seizure of drugs. But they managed to capture it on video during the actual boarding. I'm too old for that. I'm sorry. I'm too old for that. You gotta know your physical limits. Okay. If you have any questions, please raise your hand. Okay. You know, I bought all the way from Hawaii. I bought all the way from. So I'm sorry. I only have 12. Okay. I only have 12. So ask questions, and you know, this is the prize fish of Hawaii. So, okay. I bought it all the way from Hawaii. Anyways, like I said, oh wait, before I start, it's operational. I gotta put on my badge. I'm an inspector now. I'm not a guest. I'm an inspector. I got an ID, okay? I don't sit at the desk now. Now I'm on the field. I'm on the field in the hot sun. I'm going to board the boat, okay? So these are the health and safety security issues. You see the boat coming into the docks? What do you look at as far as safety? As far as, you know, when it comes in, you think it's an IUU, you don't know if it's an IUU. You just heard right now, we do allow IUU vessels for inspection. So if some vessel, if it's a purse-seine vessel, commercial tanker, we don't know. If it comes into your boat, what are the safety factors? What kind of training do you have? For us in the U.S., we take like certain safety training, like bloodborne pathogens training. You guys take that? If you get like blood on you, there's certain diseases that could get on you. You can get, maybe you step on a nail and you get tuberculosis. Certain diseases that you can get when boarding a vessel. And then I'm going to talk about developing boarding plans. Do you guys do developing boarding plans? Or do you guys just board the vessel? How do you guys, like, when the vessel comes in, what do you guys do? You just say, hey, let's go! Let's go! How do you guys develop a plan, you know? I mean, you just go off the IMO number, or how do you guys plan to board the vessel? Depending on what dock it comes in, how do you guys plan? Check with what? Okay. Oh, good answer. Yeah? Sorry, and how else do you plan? Yeah. What else?
Okay. The inspector is plan to boarding. First one, conditional, looking around visual. Yes, but the type visual, condition visual. Yes, and the crew, all about the crew, sick or no. Yes, the man or no. I think I or no. This information looking around the area decks is ready or not, and they are fuel or not. Yes. And the head notice to all condition, visual and around visual. We must know the complex equipment to inspector. Thank you.
Very good. Yeah. So I want to hear from other regions what they guys do. I'm from Hawaii. I'm a small island, so I do things different. I'm going to show you how the way I do boarding. So, okay. Yeah. Yeah. Like you said, the boat comes in, develop boarding plans. You look at it, you observe it. If there's crew members on the deck staring you down, you don't know who they are. But in U.S. we are armed. We are armed. So we're always focusing on. I don't know this boat. I don't know the person driving the boat. I don't know the crew member. My game is on. I want to go home at night. I don't want to be shot or hooked to death or thrown overboard. So I want to go home. I want to see all you guys next year. Okay? Okay, and we're going to conduct pre-boarding risk assessments. Conducting pre-boarding risk assessments is how are you going to board? Like, is it docked? I'll show you some pictures. Is it docked with the? Stacey, help me. The walkway, the gangway. I'm sorry. What type of gangway is it? Is it a shaky gangway or is it a loose? Next slide. Okay, first of all, we're going to talk about some. Before you board a vessel, we always talk about personal protective equipment. What is a normal uniform you wear? What is a normal gear you wear? What is a normal safety equipment? Like what kind of, you see my list over here. We wear body armor. Like I said, we're armed. We get to wear body armor. You never know what's out there. Captains out there, they do have guns, they do have knives, like what Brandon said. I'm not a good swimmer. I'm from Hawaii. I'm not a good swimmer. So, latex gloves. You're gonna search the fish. Do you guys wear latex gloves? That's important. You guys wear latex gloves? You handle the fish. How do you guys, you're shining in the hold. How are you guys? And I gotta go down. I'm gonna hit my head. I've hit it. Who's hit their head before on the boat? Huh? Oh, you small. You sure? But I'm sure you have hit your head. Boom! Right? So, Brandon said earlier, steel-toe boots. That's very important. Make sure your boots have grip, safety, because it's so slimy and wet. I've fallen down before, so luckily not in the ocean, but I've fallen down. I've had some close calls. Earplugs. Earplugs, that's important. I'm deaf too, so there's a lot of, when you board, there's a lot of, you're going into the engine room. It's super loud, right? Super loud. So it could annoy your ears. Yeah. And what if it's raining? Monsoon time, right? Monsoon time, it's just pounding rain, stormy, slippery. You want a rain jacket. So these are all the factors that we consider. What other stuff do you guys have? Like they call it PPE, personal protective equipment. Anything that we have and you guys have, we don't have? Anything? Candy, come on, Candy, huh?
While I appreciate the offer of candy, Brandon, I'm right. One thing that every single one of our officers has is a freezer suit. And it's a freezer kit. Inside that freezer kit is a gas detector, because they might be going into what is considered, freezer holds can become confined spaces. So freezer kits to, detect, freezer kits to be able to go into freezers. We know that longliners can have freezers over -60 degrees Celsius. We also have, I guess, a freezer guideline in place that determines how long we can spend inside a freezer. We've got measurers so we can check the freezer holds, how long, how big they are, whether it lines up with the, I guess, the ship's particulars, the schematics on board. There's a whole, I guess, bunch of things to go with that. I'm happy to share what we use in relation to those freezer kits with anyone who's interested. And I guess an indicative amount of how much a freezer kit will cost. But for our officers, they don't go and do boardings of vessels without it.
Exactly. But we're fortunate to have like gas detectors to detect radiation or certain types of gas, especially when we go into a confined space. It'll detect it, alerting us not to go down there. Okay, so you got all this into factors, you're ready to go, ready to do the boarding. But you have to have a boarding kit. This is what I have, a boarding kit. In fact, I bought one right now. Every time I board the vessel, just something simple, just a boarding kit. It has, it's easy to carry for me, and I ask my partner, hey, hold this, then I board. And it can contain a, measuring tape, notebook, whatever you feel necessary to do the job to get your objective done. Like I have. Look, I have, for my region, I have maps of the region. This is the WCPCFC maps. I need this. And when I go on a vessel, I like to just to know where I am. Yeah. Waterproof, yeah. Oh, no, not really. I wish. Okay. In case I see something, there's an evidence tag. Species ID. Species ID. What? I don't know what I'm looking at. What kind of fish is this? Some of the requirements for federal fishing. Evidence bags. This is key. You may encounter something that you can make your investigation. You wanna grab a bag and you wanna keep it safe and maintain. This, I even have this in case I go down to the engine room. A mask, something simple. So if I do encounter somebody flying it, I have these. It's not handcuffs. It's like handcuffs. It's flex cuffs they call them. So yeah. So once you put it on, you can detain somebody if they're being very aggressive. Exactly. So that's the kind of stuff that I have. What kind of stuff do you guys use? You guys, yeah. What kind of stuff do you guys use? I mean, do you guys carry anything, or do you guys just board with a notebook and a pencil? Thailand, what do you guys do? And the main thing I would say is your phone. Carry your phone. It might be your personal phone, but at least you have your phone. Everybody, I was just having a beer with him the other day. He told me about Google Translate, right? You come across a captain, he doesn't understand. He doesn't understand you. You don't understand him. What are you going to do? How are you going to converse with him? You're going to get an interpreter, but for now, just use Google Translate and say, hey, this is who I am. Identify yourself. VMS, maybe you have investigation that the vessels fished in a long line closed area or a certain area violating the CMMs and VMS personnel, you have the map so you can show the captain, this is our tracks. We want to compare it to his tracks. So, all these things can play a factor, but it could better prepare yourself once you do that boarding. So, yes, Brendan.
Just coming back to Google Translate very quickly. That is an extremely useful tool to have on your phone. most people carry their phone, as Brandon mentioned, that when you do an inspection, you might have your personal phone, but Google Translate has an offline, component to it. And a lot of the times when you do an inspection, you're looking at documents that aren't written in English. They may be written in a language that you don't understand. If you can work out what that language is, whether it's Spanish or whatever it might be, you can put that into Google Translate, put your phone over the top of that document, and it will actively translate it for you at the time. So you can see what that document is actually saying. Extremely useful and may help you find out whether you're dealing with an IU vessel or whatever you might be dealing with. Very, very useful.
We have in Hawaii, we have a lot of Vietnamese longline vessels that come in, and I don't speak Vietnamese, so it comes in handy at times, and we'll eventually get somebody to the docks. Okay, so like I said, it's just a resource for you folks as boarding inspectors, boarding officers. Your boarding checklist. Do you guys have a checklist? Or how do you? Is it routine for you guys up in your head, or do you guys have a checklist? This is waterproof, but I have what to do in case I have an investigation, certain investigations dealing with marine mammal or endangered species. What kind of questions? What to ask? What to do? Reminders. So it could come in handy. If you're not familiar with the fishing gear on board, I'm pretty sure you guys are, but gear types. What kind of gear do they have on board? Is it a trawler, person? Sure.
On the topic of translation and interpretation, just real quickly, the Port Safe Measures Agreement has been translated into several languages. Jimon, correct me if I'm wrong, but Spanish, French, Arabic, Mandarin or Chinese, Russian, what's the sixth language? And Arabic. So what we've done is because Annex C, which we will get to, is the inspection report required by the agreement. So it is translated in different languages. So we've heard from some of you that you receive Taiwanese longline vessels, Chinese longline vessels. So that would be the inspection report in their language. So we reached out to our divisions and asked what flag states are you most commonly seeing, what nationality is the vessel master, what nationality are the crew, and had the inspection form translated into many different languages so that they could see it in their own language. Of course, not all vessel masters can read and write, right? So also, and I know Australia has done this too, translating simple boarding cards. Hello, how are you? Does the captain treat you well? Yes, no answers helps facilitate and build rapport with the crew, because when enforcement comes on, it can be scary. So being able to have some communication, because I know not everybody here could just get an interpreter from your governments, right? So having simple solutions to help facilitate conversation, and with Google Translate technology, it's really, that helps a lot too.
Any questions so far? Well, I got lots of candy. I'm taking it home now. Okay. Okay. So, like I said, the risk assessment is the pre-inspection briefing. You're at the docks, so you're going to drive out to the boat, and you're going to do the boarding. You're going to prepare for that boarding. Like I said, it might be at night, might be early in the morning, just waking up. It's The boarding party has the responsibility to the master and crew not to do anything that creates a potential health, safety, and security issue. Okay, so it's what you do, it's what you tell the vessel master, and I hope he should comply. That doesn't put your team at risk. Okay, so you don't want any one of your team members fall and injure themselves. Just like I said, you want to do it safely, making sure nobody gets injured. Safety is number one priority. The fish is dead already now. Remember that. The fish is dead. Your safety. Okay? Okay. So risk assessment should be boarding and disembarking the vessel. Moving around the vessel. Is it a high seas boarding or is it a dockside boarding? If it's a high seas boarding, can you balance? You have a hard time balancing. You don't want to fall off the board. Dockside boarding. Are you moving around the vessel? There's a lot of things that could stop you and prevent you from going to the front of the boat, the bow of the boat. Slip, trips, falls. Anybody fell? I mean, injured themselves? Anybody? You don't remember a time? I mean, boarding all these years, you guys, just trip over the ropes. Okay. All the conflicts with crews. There's a lot of language barriers. You don't know what they're saying. They may stare you down. You don't know what the crew is thinking. Confined space entry and exit. The engine room. Like I said, there's gas. You don't want to go down there. Be smart. Be smart when you do the boardings. And search activities. How are you going to search? You have a searching team, and you have an interviewing team. This is how I do it. You go on. You're going to do the boarding. We're going to talk to the captain. These guys will do the search. And the other guys will do the crew. Talk to the crew. Is there firearms or weapons on board? That, like I said, that's a big factor. Like you said the appearance of the vessel tells it all, right? The appearance of the vessel when it comes into port. How the vessel appears. Yeah. So that's a risk assessment. Is it a nice vessel, or is it a kind of rusty old vessel? The location, where is it docked? How big is your docks? Is it a big part? Is it a big spacey area that you can move around? I worked in American Samoa, and there's docks, there's space, but when they're offloading, there's trucks, there's containers, there's freezer holds. It gets tight. You don't want to get run over by, or killed by any one of the machinery moving around. Person on board, you don't know who's on board. Like I said, you don't know who that person is until you talk to them and you identify them. And your environment. Is it hot? Is it hot? I mean, if I do a boarding on it, I'm hot. Is it cold? Better wear your jacket. You may get dehydrated if you're in the sun. All these factors to think about when you do the boarding. So, like I said, just do it safe. Do it safe. Any more questions? Any questions? Okay, like I said, these are moorings. Consider the moorings. There's the big cleats on the docks. I'm sure you guys see it all the time. You guys have it. Surrounding vessels, people walking around, people doing the nets, sewing up the nets, retangling the nets, import activities. This is a picture of American Samoa. When I was in American Samoa, this is how the dock looked like. This is the dock. And these are the Chinese vessels. They dock side by side. Is that common in yours? Common, right? Okay. So you're coming from here, and how do you get to that? What if you gotta speak to the crew in here? Can you get over? Are you in shape? Are you in shape? I mean, you know, to climb over the railing. So, these are the holes. Like I said, the fish holes. These are the freezers. These are very small. You can hit your head right up here. Look at this. Look at all this drain. I mean, you know, if I step in here, I'm going to injure myself. I'm gone. I'm done. You're going to board this boat in American Samoa. It rains all the time, so it's very. You got to be very cautious of what when you board a boat. It may be simple, but like, look at all this slimy. If you don't have the proper shoes, you're going to slip. And sometimes they don't have the step ladders. You just go by the flotation. And you're going to step over. Yeah. Is that how it is, Philippines? Yeah. And the crew, you know, they just dock, you're just there, you're looking at the crew, you gotta assess it, you know, making sure they're away from you, they don't run at you when you're boarding. Like I said, all these, in fact, we've been on boats, and they had like dogs, like wild dogs on board. They keep their wild dogs. When they're docked at the side, they have wild dogs. And some of the dogs are vicious. So. But what do? You're going to board it? No. You're going to get the captain and tie up that dog before I board it. So you're going to order the captain. So, you know, prevent something from happening. So, prevent. Yeah, good.
Are we allowed to inspect the personal belongings of the crews, especially when we are looking for any weapons or any knife? Are we allowed?
Well, on their persons, I probably would. You know, yeah. But if it's in their bags, you know, what we do is we go up to the captain. And we don't know you, but we say, hey, captain, is there any weapons on board? Is there any weapons on board? Weapons by mean shotgun or rifles or gun, yeah. So, and the captain should tell you that, yeah, I have something. It's located in the back galley, kitchen. So. But as far as the person, it's up to your agency, or up to your government on how you guys. What do you think, Todd, as far as?
Yeah, I think it's your national authority that determines where you can search and how you can search. Our statute is very broad; it allows us to search pretty much the entire fishing vessel. But it's very gray when you start getting into like personal quarters. We have what we call a security sweep or safety sweep. That just makes sure we've accounted for all personnel. If there's any weapons, we've secured them. Make sure they're not, in a position to be used or injure anyone. But we don't have authority to start searching like personal belongings, like a suitcase, for example, unless we had some basis to believe that there was evidence or weapons or anything else there that would be a problem. So it's really your national legislation that determines. Ours is very broad as far as search and inspection of fishing vessels within our jurisdiction.
Like I said, if it's a high-risk vessel, if you get as much of your team out there, the more the better. Whether it be agriculture, when we in Samoa, we have agriculture, we have customs. Same as you folks, I heard, during the week, agriculture, customs, and they each look for their specific violations, but yet we're working as a team, we're getting the job done, but in our own, searching for our jurisdiction. So I'm searching for the fish, making sure everything, they're searching for immigration issues. Yes.
The checklist, but it just seems kind of odd that you would, I don't know, does it happen a lot, or is it just that the vessel has come alongside for a day or two already, and then you decided to go to investigate that?
I think in that particular situation, they had a purse-seine vessel. You know how big the purse-seine vessel was right in the front, and just left, finished offloading. It depends how many room, what slips there are out there. American Samoa is not too much, like I said, for foreign vessels. It's pretty much on that side of the slip of the way.
Just to highlight, in the Pacific in particular, I mean that's Samoa right there, American Samoa. In the Pacific, it's wharf space is very limited, so that is a common practice. You'll see that all the time in the Pacific, and even in Southeast Asia, you'll see that quite commonly here. Singapore, you do have the benefit of, I guess, quite an elaborate. And that is a possibility. As an officer, you guys, under whatever your jurisdiction allows you to do, you may have the powers to say, all right, move the vessel, come here, and we're doing an inspection like this. In Australia, we would probably do the same thing. We'd probably say, we'll move to this space here and we'll do an inspection. But I can say from my experience in the Pacific and in Southeast Asia, we would just jump across because it kind of has to happen like that.
Yeah, I mean, I would do the same thing as you if I could. But maybe the harbor master, maybe he's gone, maybe he went to lunch. We can't get a hold of him.
I think the other thing is we don't necessarily have the same control over all of our ports. Like Brandon mentioned, for us, the harbor master may decide, okay, this is where they're going, or the cannery, depending on how they're boarding and what the situation is. But where we're going to control it is that assessment that he mentioned, that risk assessment before we board. So we'll take this into account. That's not a high-risk boarding for any reason. We don't suspect anything in particular. We may just take into account for our safety how we're going to do the boarding. But if it was a high-risk boarding or suspected IUU, or we needed to do more, like offload the fish directly, we would then explore we're going to move the vessel before we board it. But in general terms, that scenario, I mean, we do deal with that unless there's a reason. A lot of times that's just the situation we have to deal with. That's where the harbor master put them, or that's where the cannery has them. And absent some reason for us to consider a high-risk boarding or a more intense boarding, we're just going to deal with that situation, get the boarding done as safely as we can, and move on.
One question. Do you have any address letter or procedure when you go to operation at the sea, or letter, address letter before you
So I think I understand. For some of you, my understanding is you have to get actually an authorization letter to go on board a certain vessel, and you carry an authorization letter for that. For us, no. I mean, our authority effectively is just, that is our authority. Our authority is to board and inspect any fishing vessel, fishing support vessel within the jurisdiction of the United States. So for us, it's basically show our identification badge. I mean, basically identify yourself as a law enforcement officer and you go aboard. There is no special authorization. We have identification with our authorization effectively built into it. Arrest anytime, search anytime. I mean, we can board and inspect a fishing vessel anytime, guys. Yep.
yeah. I think once the ARF is submitted already to the authorities, I think boarding inspection is ready for everyone. No need for authorization or anything.
Yeah, for us, our authorization is, again, to board and inspect any fishing vessel or fishing support vessel within the jurisdiction of the United States. So if it's in port, port state measures, it's very clear, it's just within, once it's in the internal waters of the United States, full authority. For us, our authority would extend out to 200 miles, basically within the EEZ, which is similar to the Coast Guard. We basically can board and inspect the fishing vessel within that jurisdiction.
Good question. Good question.
So I know this is not as common because we've encountered this through our technical assistance. These guys, both being law enforcement, they have what are called credentials or identification. I don't know if either of you have them, but they have identification on them that they just have to hold up and show, and then that I'm here under my authority to inspect and board this vessel. But I understand not every country provides identification or credentials for their inspectors, and I think that's where the question is coming from.
And that, we'll talk, the agreement talks about identifying yourself to the master when you go on board and having identification. And that has been an issue for some, I don't know, like for us, I mean, it's basically, it's got a photo that clearly identifies me as a law enforcement officer, and it gives, actually written out as our authority to conduct inspections, search and inspect, and then, the badge.
And like I
So
said,
it's all in one place.
if we do a high seas boarding, we're always, most of the time, we're with the Coast Guard. Coast Guard has all the assets, the safety procedures. They'll take us out there, whether by an airplane or boat, then we do the high seas boarding. So, just, for us in Hawaii, we don't have the resources to get out 200 miles, so, yeah.
What if the what if the master of the vessel didn't allow you to do the inspection? What will you do? Even you have already shown your ID card or something. So, because sometimes the master of the vessel don't want the vessel to be inspected. What will you do? If the master of the vessel do not allow you to do the inspection of his vessel, what will you do? You will refuse him or?
Oh. Well, in Hawaii, they're all permitted. They're all permitted in Hawaii. And if they don't want us to get on that vessel, we'll take away their permits. They can't fish. And we'll put them on a sanction list. A sanction list, it could get to that point where the vessel is sanctioned. And yes?
So,
if you inside the boat, there's a fishing boat.
Okay.
Okay, if you fell down, the enforcement, yes. Okay, the enforcement is fell down. So the responsible is the master of the boat.
I'm responsible for the master.
But the responsible.
Oh, if I fell on the boat?
Yes. What is for the safety?
I don't think so. Yeah, that's my fault. That's my fault. That's why I'm saying I gotta be safe. Because if I get killed on the boat, if I fall over and drown, it's not the master's fault. It's my job duty to get on that boat safely. Yeah. The master pushes me off. Okay, maybe that's a different story.
So, I just want to go back real quickly to the Indonesian. Brandon answered very clearly what our domestic vessel is the situation. So, remember, under Port State Measures Agreement, and we will talk about this a little further, but there's a requirement of flag state responsibilities under the Port State Measures Agreement. And that is that you require your vessel's masters to comply with, basically lawful orders and inspections and all of those other things. So, as a flag state responsibility, you would be required to make sure that your vessel masters and captains comply. That said, we would not accept a refusal for our lawful boarding and inspection of a vessel. So ideally, we would talk through that and work that through diplomatically and get aboard and do our job. If you get into things like forceful obstruction, then that gets into our domestic law, which would end up in likely an arrest. And they would be going to jail for forcible obstruction or assault of a federal officer. So ideally, I don't ever see that happening. Usually we can talk our way through it or work through the situation with the flag state. We would reach out to the flag state and say, hey, we've got a problem with your vessel. Meanwhile, we're detaining the vessel. It's not going anywhere. So, and ultimately, if a vessel just refuses, say, an at-sea boarding, because I mean, that goes back to, we document the situation, we report it to the flag state, and the flag state has an obligation to take action themselves for that situation.
All good questions, guys. All good. So I guess we'll move on. Okay, so when we do the boarding, somebody got to take charge. So you have to have a team leader. What we call it a team leader. Most senior position, and you know, the team leader, you have your benefits. You make the young guy do all the work. You make the young guy do the boarding, and you're there to make sure he's safe. So it's just you're working together to accomplish one goal, and that's to board the vessel, determine if it's safe for the rest of the team. You know, like I said, all we need is a thumbs up. Hey, you guys, come on board. Come on board. It's okay. No, there's no slips, trips, nothing blocking your way from embarking on the vessel. Yeah, no. Okay. Again, safety issue. Who's first? We work with. I told you we work with Samoa. We have some old guys. We have some young guys. Some out of shape guys. We're all law enforcement. But we've got to assess the situation. Who's going to go first? Who can jump the farthest, but in a safe manner. So I talked about pre-boarding. Now you're conducting an inspection. Okay. You're on the board. You're conducting inspection. You want to achieve one goal, and that's to find out where they fish, how they fish, what type of gear. You want to find out everything you can about the boat, about where they fish, and the vessel master, the electronics on board. So that's your time. I get PSM. You can chime in on this. This is the required inspection for Annex B. So for the port state measures, we do fall under Annex B, and that's.
Yeah, so in Brendan's presentation on Monday, all of the areas required for inspection that he was discussing, and the text on his slides, they come from the agreement. So I apologize that the annex names are here. So Annex B, especially for the non-parties in the room, if you're looking at a guide for what do I need to inspect, how do I need to inspect all the places to develop things like boarding checklists, your training programs, the Annex B, it says the inspector shall inspect these areas, and it's a whole list of things. But it's a very good place as you're starting to increase your capacities to be able to develop checklists, your training. Do I know how to do this? Do my inspectors need more training on that? So the PSMA, again, it's fisheries law enforcement best practices. So it's a great resource and tool to develop some of the things that Brandon is discussing. Annex C is the inspection report. We'll get very deep into that. And then Annex E, the agreement requires that your inspectors are sufficiently trained. And then it has guidelines for all of the topics that inspectors should be trained on. And that's what Todd was speaking to this morning in terms of how we developed our port state measures training program for inspectors. In this Annex E, in these guidelines, it highlights 12 different areas of training. From those 12 areas, and based on requests from other countries, we've developed even more training modules from there. So these are all kind of the minimum standards and how you can use this agreement as a great resource guide and tool to develop all the things we've been discussing.
Good, thank you. And like I said, the bottom line is you have a fishing vessel coming into your port. It's your house. It's like somebody coming into your house. You want to know everything about that boat. You know, whether it be every single crew member is coming in, the violations, the prior boardings. In Hawaii, we are very, we do a lot of routine boats, so we kind of know. But captains change all the time. They have paper captains. You ever heard of paper captains? Anybody? Yeah. The captains change all the time, so we don't know who we're dealing with. Crew members, they change all the time. So. So when we do a boat, like I said, we pick a team of inspectors, fishery enforcement, whether it be customs, immigration, ag, we're all on the same team. We're there to keep each other safe and find out every detail on the vessel. We make ourselves known to the master, but we do it courtesy. They're not drug dealers or anything like that unless you have reasonable suspicion. But we do treat them with courteous respect. A lot of Japanese vessels come in, and I do the boardings on that. I don't speak Japanese, but I see the vessel very clean. They invite me in and they offer me a Coca-Cola, you know. And I take off my shoes. And that's the kind of respect. You give them your respect, they'll give you your respect. They'll give you whatever you need. So you kind of get a rapport. Even though you have a language barrier, you get a rapport with them, and it makes your inspection easier. You know, while the team leaders interview the master and checking all the wheelhouse, you have a team that goes, checks all the fish holes, checks all the gear, the equipment, documents, records. And like I said, your phone is key. All the inspectors have the phone, take pictures, taking pictures. You can't describe the fishing gear. You know, a photo is the best evidence. And like I said, you know, the phone can contain thousands of pictures now. You know, if you don't need it, you just delete it later on. But it's always good to take pictures.
So we're not going to go through all of these. Brendan did a really good job of covering what Annex B, the instructions for how to conduct an inspection, how inspectors should conduct an inspector. No, I did that twice. And how an inspector should conduct an inspection. But this is the text from the agreement. So use the agreement just as, at the end of the day, as a resource, as best practices, as some of the countries in the stream are developing these procedures. So we're going to skip the actual agreement text.
Little while more. We're almost there. We're almost there. More questions, please. More questions. No? Yeah. You know, this guy has binoculars. It's good to check out the vessel as it comes in. You know, we can't see that close, so you know, binoculars is always good. You folks carry binoculars? That's my question. Huh? You guys use binoculars, right? Okay. That's a good tool. Very good tool. Identify the vessel out at sea. You know. What that is? Okay. I guess before the boarding, check for vessels for priors. In the U.S., we have a system known as Trident, and we kind of track all the U.S. vessels, purchasing vessels, and if there's any violations that there have been, you know, in the past years, we can look at that and we come across it and see what kind of violations are there. Was it a closed area violation? Was it an assault on somebody? We don't know. So we always do the homework, checking the vessel proprietors. Check the relevant RFMO records. Like I said again, IUU list, non-IUU list. The owner information. This is important. We have longline vessels. Owners, they own 20 boats, 20 longline vessels. And you know, some just own one, some they sell it all the time. So you gotta really find out who the owner of the vessel is right now. And that could be a challenge too sometimes. They're always changing. Tax history, criminal history, that's important. Criminal history, I mean, I don't know, in the US we have databases, law enforcement databases that we can run criminal histories. How do you guys do it? Do you guys have any database? Do you guys have any, like, you know, on the island, everything is small. You know who's the bad guy and who's not, right? So just like Hawaii, we're an island. But these guys that come in, you don't know. You don't know. So. Just some general observations. If you're on the boat, you look at the fish holes. You know, you want what kind of type of gear, vessel location. Like I said, it's a violation to have the gear in the water for the U.S. Take photo, boom, boom, boom. Take up that right there. That's your evidence of a violation. Fish on deck. What kind of fish? How many fish? The number of crew. Anything unusual? Like I said, is the hull painted? Whatever, yeah. And the electronics on board. What kind of electronics? Some of the vessels have newer electronics and brand new electronics. Some have old electronics. They're all different. You gotta just you gotta see it. You gotta see it over and over again, and you become familiar with it. And again, take photos of vessels and gear. Find out their port of registry. What we do is we look at the certificate of documentation, where the vessel was made. I think you have a copy of the kind of group exercises yesterday. The IMO number.
Sorry, just real quick. One of the things that often comes up when you're taking photos of a vessel, a lot of times you might be boarding 2 or 3 vessels in a day. One of the things, just to suggest, if you're using like your iPhone, take a photo of the vessel when you're getting ready to board. On the outside, so you can see the vessel name. Take all your photos on board that you need to do, and when you leave, take another photo of the same vessel. So basically it helps. I mean, again, in addition to maybe having a photo log would be ideal, but for your chain of custody, your evidence, you're clearly articulating your first picture is the vessel when I go to board it. And if you got a whole slew of vessels on there, you'll know which pictures are from which vessel, and you don't run into that problem of, gee, which picture was this? Was this on this vessel? Which will really mess up your case if you end up any of those photos being evidence.
Exactly. Like when I talk to the vessel master, I take a picture of him. I say, sir, can I take a picture of you just so I have an idea of who I was interviewing, who I was talking to. So if he says yes, yes. If he doesn't want, then well, you gotta respect him. So. Again, down here, no markings, look for the engine. What were you telling me on the engine? What do you guys do for the engine?
Checking the serial number of the engine ID plate is standard operating procedure for some of the countries in here. That's part of your, I thought it was Indonesia. I know it's for some of you, it's on your boarding checklist. It's something you always check every single time. And the case study Todd gave us on the Big Boom Perkasa, it was not our normal practice to have that engine ID number, but very beneficial, and that's how we track the vessel. So I know there are countries in this room that this is done every single inspection.
Any questions so far? Am I making sense? Are you with me? New questions. You can see I'm trying to get rid of this.
Okay, sorry, that I has the question that related to the previous slide that you mentioned about the history of the criminal or illegal fishing. So it's that vessel that do the illegal fishing and already list and has the history of the illegal fishing. So what is the criteria or what is the procedure that fishing vessel can go to fish again?
If you detect illegal fishing during the inspection, or are you asking if the vessel has a prior violation?
It depends what kind of violation. Like what kind of violation?
For example, like I don't know for sure about because Cambodia has no like the big vessel like that in the water. But if we refer to the serious illegal fishing, and then the patrol team record or note that this vessel already do that scram. And so what is the criteria that fishing vessel can go to fish again, something like that?
I mean, if a vessel did a scheme, an illegal scheme, and they did it again, is that what you're saying?
I think what I'm, and that might be it, the other piece, if a vessel is detected doing illegal fishing, they're apprehended, the country takes action against them, when would they be allowed to go back fishing, or could they go back fishing? Is that your question? Yes. Okay. So, a couple different pieces there. One, the flag state depends where the illegal fishing took place. But if the flag state took effective enforcement action, then that illegal fishing doesn't necessarily mean the vessel is going to be on an IU vessel list, right? Because part of it is, did the flag state take appropriate action and penalize the vessel appropriately to deter from future illegal activity? Okay, so just because a vessel conducts illegal fishing doesn't automatically place it on an IUU vessel list. IUU vessel lists are reserved for those vessels that conduct illegal fishing and have not effectively been penalized and or have just skirted the law and not been penalized. Does that make sense to you? I want to make sure that makes sense. I'm not sure if it makes sense to you. So it really comes down to the penalties. So you go to your original question, a vessel conducts illegal activity, they're apprehended, they're fined, they're arrested, their catch is seized. That may be the end of it. They're then allowed to go back and go fishing. But hopefully that sent them a message to do it legally from now on. Okay? So that really is up to the flag state or the country. For example, if they fished illegally, say they came and they fished illegally in the U.S. exclusive economic zone, we apprehended them, we would fine them and detain the vessel until such time as the penalty and the court proceedings were done. And then they're free from the U.S. They've paid their debt to the U.S. with hopes that they will never do it again. Okay? Does that answer your question? Okay.
Same goes here with the U.S. vessels. When they do something wrong, our prosecutor would issue the fine. It's called a notice of violation. And notice of violation, it's basically a fine. And this is a hefty fine. It's a big fine. And if they don't decide to pay it, like I said, they could end up seeking further violations of the chains. Their vessel could be sanctioned and not permitted to fish anymore, taking away their permits. So sometimes it gets there, but most of the time they pay the fine. Okay, vessel markings. You guys had a lot of knowledge on vessel markings. You guys see your vessels in your guys' ports. Are you guys familiar with all the markings? Yeah. So, you're boarding the vessel. There's a lot of things all around. We just went to observe the vessel out here, and there's a lot of equipment around. So you gotta be careful of where you walk on the vessel. You don't want to trip into a fish hole again. Like I said, and get hurt. Like I said, the lead officer, the team leader, you guys assign different tasks to make it easier on yourselves. Do it in a timely manner. So I will go up to the wheelhouse and making sure it's safe. And after I meet the master, I would assign my team to go ahead and inspect the fish hole, inspect the engine, inspect the logbooks, inspect the fishing gear on board, and make sure everything is properly examined.